At my anniversary celebration, my cousin Lee exposed the hidden. That tore my family apart in front of everyone. So this happened last month, and I'm still trying to process it. My husband Mark, 29M, and I, 28F, were celebrating our 5-year wedding anniversary. We decided to do something a little extra, rent out a private room at this cozy Italian restaurant in our city. Nothing too flashy, just good food, wine, and our closest family. The guest list was small: my parents, my younger brother Jake, 25M, my aunt and uncle, and my cousin Lee, 27F. Lee and I have always been pretty close, like sisters at some point in our lives. She's blunt, fiery, and honestly the type to speak her mind, even if it's at the worst possible time. Everything started out normal. We had appetizers, everyone was laughing, and Mark gave this sweet little toast about how much he loved me and how grateful he was for the past 5 years. I teared up a bit, it was honestly perfect. But then Lee decided she needed to say something. She stood up, wine glass in hand, and goes, "I can't sit here and pretend like everything is fine. You all need to know what's really going on." The whole room went dead silent. My mom whispered, "Lee, not now," but Lee wasn't stopping. "Mark isn't who you think he is," she said, glaring directly at my husband. I swear my heart dropped into my stomach. Mark's face went pale, and everyone just stared. My dad asked, "What the hell are you talking about?" Lee turned to me and said, "I didn't want to tell you like this, but you deserve to know. Mark has been messing around with someone in the family." The table exploded. My uncle muttered, "Jesus Christ," while my brother Jake jumped in like, "You can't just drop that bomb, Lee, explain yourself." Lee doubled down. She claimed she had proof that Mark had been seeing my aunt, yes, my freaking aunt. She said she saw them together weeks ago at some bar across town, looking way too comfortable. At that point, I was shaking so badly I could barely breathe. My mom started yelling at Lee to stop. My aunt looked like she'd seen a ghost, and Mark was stammering like he couldn't form words. Finally, I snapped, "What the actual hell are you doing? This is my anniversary. Why would you say something like this now?" She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Because you need to stop living in some fairy tale. You deserve the truth." The room was chaos, people yelling over each other, my aunt denying everything, Mark swearing Lee was making it up, and Lee insisting she wasn't. The restaurant staff even came to check if everything was okay because voices were raised so loud. I couldn't process anything. One minute I was celebrating 5 years of marriage, the next my cousin had set fire to everything. And the worst part? Deep down, something in me believed her. I wish I could say I handled the situation with grace, but honestly, I just froze. My mind was spinning so fast I couldn't even figure out who to believe. Mark grabbed my hand under the table and whispered, "Babe, please, don't listen to her. She's drunk. She's just trying to stir things up." But Lee shot back immediately, "Don't you dare put this on me. Mark, I know what I saw." At this point, the whole anniversary dinner was basically a war zone. My dad stood up, slamming his hand on the table. "Enough. Either you explain this clearly right now, Lee, or you keep your mouth shut." Lee, looking almost too calm for the chaos she'd just unleashed, said, "Fine, 2 weeks ago. I went out with some friends to the Silver Fox, the bar on 12th Street. I saw Mark there with Aunt Karen. They weren't just talking, they were touching, laughing, whispering in each other's ears. It looked like a date, not some family catch-up." Everyone turned to look at Aunt Karen, who was sitting stiff as a statue. She finally snapped, "That's insane, Lee. You must have been seeing things. Mark and I ran into each other by chance. We chatted for a bit, and that was it." Lee scoffed. "Oh please, you were holding his arm, Karen. You don't hold someone's arm like that unless there's something going on." Mark swore under his breath and muttered, "This is ridiculous." He stood up and said, "Lee, you've hated me since the beginning. Admit it. You've always thought I wasn't good enough for your cousin, and now you're trying to sabotage us." Jake, my brother, jumped in. "Hold up, why would Lee lie about something like this? I mean, it's messed up timing, yeah, but she gains nothing from making it up." The tension was unbearable. My mom tried to calm everyone down, whispering, "Not here, not now," but it was too late. The celebration was beyond saving. I just sat there, numb, staring at the tablecloth while voices blurred together around me. A million questions ran through my head. Was Lee exaggerating? Was Karen covering something up? Was Mark lying to me right in front of everyone? Then Lee delivered the final blow. "If you don't believe me, check his phone. I bet you'll find texts. I don't need to prove anything, you can see for yourself." Mark's face tightened, and that reaction alone made my stomach churn. My dad, who rarely loses his temper, said coldly, "Mark, hand over your phone." Mark shook his head. "I don't know anyone here my privacy, especially not because Lee wants to play detective." That refusal was like gasoline on the fire. Lee smirked like she just won. My aunt was near tears, and now I couldn't even look at my husband anymore. The anniversary was officially over. People started leaving in anger or silence, and I was left sitting there, heartbroken and humiliated. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The night didn't end. People left in awkward silence, leaving just me, Mark, Lee, and a few of our closest family members. The restaurant manager had politely suggested we settle the matter elsewhere, so we moved the discussion to my apartment. As soon as we got home, Mark paced the living room, muttering under his breath, "I can't believe she did this. Lee's completely lost it." I tried to calm him down. "Mark, please just talk to me. I need to know the truth." He ran a hand through his hair. "There's nothing to tell, okay? Karen and I ran into each other, but that's all. I swear, Lee's making this into something it's not." Lee, who had followed us back, crossed her arms. "Yeah, keep telling yourself that. You've been lying since the beginning, and everyone here knows it." That's when things started getting messy. Jake, who had stayed with me for support, said quietly, "Maybe we should just check the phone, clear the air." My stomach sank. I didn't want to invade Mark's privacy, but at the same time, I couldn't ignore the possibility that Lee was telling the truth. Mark's face hardened. "Absolutely not. You're not going through my phone. That's a hard boundary." Lee leaned closer, voice low but cutting. "You're choosing lies over your wife. That's the truth." I felt a flash of anger. "Lee, enough. This isn't helping." Lee didn't back down. She glanced at my aunt, who was sitting frozen on the couch, and whispered, "You can't keep hiding it forever." Suddenly, my world tilted. Aunt Karen's eyes filled with tears, and she muttered, I can't keep lying anymore." My heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Karen took a deep breath. Mark and we've been involved. I didn't plan for it to happen. I thought it was a mistake, something that wouldn't go anywhere, but it did. And Lee, she's right. You needed to know. I froze. The apartment seemed to shrink around me. Mark's jaw dropped, his hands shaking slightly. Lee stood there, expression unreadable, almost smug. Jake swore under his breath. Holy SHD, you've got to be kidding me. Asterisk. My parents had come to check on the noise, and when they heard Karen's confession, my dad's face turned red, and my mom gasped, clutching her chest. I felt like I was suffocating. The family I thought I knew had shattered in an instant. Lee finally said, calm as ever, you didn't want to see it, but I couldn't watch you live in a lie anymore. I didn't know whether to hug her for exposing the truth, or scream at her for ruining everything. Mark, pale and broken, whispered, I didn't mean for this to happen. I sat down heavily, trying to process it all. My cousin had torn a hole through our anniversary celebration, exposed a secret that nobody was ready to face. And yet, somehow, the truth felt like a relief even if it hurt more than anything else I've ever had. The next morning, the apartment felt like a war zone. Empty wine glasses, scattered napkins, and the lingering tension made it hard to breathe. I didn't sleep at all. I kept replaying Karen's confession in my head, feeling both betrayed and numb. Mark was on the couch, silent, staring at the wall. I couldn't even look at him. How could you? I finally whispered, my voice breaking. He flinched but didn't answer. I didn't plan for it, Lee. It just happened. I swear I didn't mean to hurt you. I shook my head. But you did, and now everyone knows. Our anniversary, our family, all of it is ruined. Lee, sitting calmly in the corner with her arms crossed, said, You've been living in denial for months. I just made it real for you. I wanted to scream at her, but I couldn't. The truth, horrifying as it was, had a strange clarity to it. Just then, my mom appeared at the door, eyes red from crying. Karen, Lee, Mark, what is happening in this house? Karen tried to explain, her voice trembling. It was a mistake. I never wanted it to hurt anyone. I thought I could stop it, but I couldn't. I was scared. And Lee saw me. She's right. My dad stormed in right after, anger radiating off him. I can't believe this. How could you do this? On our anniversary, no less. Jake muttered something under his breath, clearly trying to keep the peace, but even he looked shaken. I felt trapped between everyone's emotions, anger, betrayal, shame, and a strange relief that the secret wasn't hidden anymore. I finally confronted Mark. You need to tell me everything. No more lies, no more hiding. Mark hesitated, then slowly recounted the timeline, how it started as casual dinners, then became more, how he didn't know how to end it, how guilt kept piling on. My stomach turned with every word. Lee didn't say much. She just observed, occasionally interjecting with, see, that's why you needed to know. Hours passed. People were yelling, crying, begging for explanations. I felt like I was watching my family unravel in front of me. By evening, Karen left in tears, promising to seek counselling in space. Mark stayed behind, attempting to apologise, but I was too hurt to respond. Lee finally stood up to leave. I didn't come to destroy you, she said softly. I came to show you the truth. Whether you accept it or not, it's out there now. I felt a strange mix of gratitude and resentment. She had torn my world apart. Yes, but now I could see clearly what I'd been ignoring. After she left, I sat with Mark silently, both of us exhausted. No words could fix what had happened. Our anniversary celebration was over. Our family was fractured. And yet, the truth, raw as it was, had forced us to finally confront reality. I don't know what will happen next, but for the first time in months, I felt like I could start thinking about what comes after the chaos instead of pretending everything was fine. The week after the disaster was surreal. My apartment felt quieter than ever, almost eerie. Every corner reminded me of the chaos Lee had unleashed, and every time I saw Mark, I felt a mixture of anger, confusion, and heartbreak. I decided we needed boundaries. I told Mark, we need space. I can't just pretend this didn't happen. You need to figure out what you want and how you're going to fix this. He nodded, looking genuinely remorseful, but there was still that tension like a storm cloud hovering over us. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes, Leah. Whatever it takes to make this right. I rolled my eyes. It's going to take more than words, Mark. Trust isn't given back instantly. You broke something fundamental. Meanwhile, Lee was acting surprisingly normal. She kept texting me, checking in, almost as if she expected some gratitude. I ignored most of her messages. Some part of me knew she had done the right thing, but another part wanted to throttle her for destroying my anniversary. Then came the family confrontation. My parents called a meeting at my mom's house. Everyone was there, Dad, Mom, Jake, Lee, Mark, and even Aunt Karen, who looked exhausted and ashamed. Mom started, we need to talk about this as a family. No yelling, no interruptions. Lee immediately muttered, good luck keeping everyone quiet. I glared at her, but Dad hushed her. Lee, sit, just listen. Karen spoke first, apologising profusely. I never meant for this to happen. I will do whatever it takes to make amends, including therapy, distance, whatever you need. Lee, surprisingly, supported the idea. See, I'm not here to ruin lives. I just wanted honesty, and maybe some accountability. Mark tried to speak, but I stopped him. Not yet. I want to hear from everyone else first. Jake, my brother, looked torn but said, look, Lee may have caused the scene, but the truth was hiding in plain sight. We can't just pretend it didn't happen. The meeting went on for hours. Rules were set. Karen and Mark would stay separate for now. We'd all seek counselling if necessary, and Lee agreed to step back from our immediate lives until emotions cooled. By the end, I was emotionally drained, but strangely a sense of relief settled over me. At least things were out in the open. At least the lies weren't eating away at me anymore. Later that evening, Mark approached me quietly. I know I've done terrible things. I don't want to lose you. I'll do whatever it takes to earn back your trust. I took a deep breath, trying to push down the whirlwind of emotions. I don't know if I can forgive you fully yet, but I do know we can't go back to pretending everything is fine. If we're going to try, it has to be real this time. He nodded solemnly, and for the first time in days, I felt a small flicker of hope. Lee, on the other hand, was waiting outside when I left the house. She gave me a look that was equal parts guilt and pride. It's done. The truth is out. Now you decide what to do with it. And that's exactly what I had to do, decide how to navigate a family torn apart, a marriage tested, and the reality that some truths no matter how painful, were better revealed than hidden. Over the next few weeks, life felt like walking on eggshells. Every family gathering became a careful dance, words measured, dances sharp, emotions barely contained. Mark and I tried to rebuild our marriage, but the shadow of what had happened lingered in every conversation, every touch. Lee, surprisingly, wasn't the villain I'd imagined. She must have kept her distance, occasionally checking in with texts like, "How are you holding up? I know it's rough, but it's out now." I didn't always reply. Part of me was still angry, part of me grateful. One Saturday, my parents invited us over for a family lunch to test the waters. Aunt Karen didn't come, citing therapy sessions and needing space, which I was secretly relieved about. Lee showed up, quiet, sipping her coffee and avoiding eye contact with me. Midway through lunch, my mom sighed and said, "I know this hasn't been easy. We all need to figure out how to move forward." Lee nodded. "I don't want to make things worse. I just want everyone to be honest from now on." Dad grunted, clearly uncomfortable, while Jake muttered, "Well, at least we're past the yelling stage." Mark reached for my hand under the table. I hesitated, but allowed it. It felt tentative, fragile, like we were testing the waters of something new. Then Lee spoke quietly, almost to herself, but loud enough for me to hear. "I just wish people would understand why I did it. I wasn't trying to ruin anyone's life. I just couldn't keep the secret." I glanced at her and, for the first time, felt a twinge of understanding. She had disrupted everything. Yes, but she had also forced clarity. Maybe, in a strange way, she'd done us a favor. After lunch, I pulled Lee aside. "Look, I'm still mad at you. You ruined my anniversary, but thank you for telling me the truth. That hurts like hell, but I needed to know." She gave a small, almost shy smile. "I know it sounds terrible, but I'm glad you said that. I just didn't want you living in a lie." I nodded. It wasn't forgiveness yet, not fully, but it was the start. Mark, meanwhile, was taking active steps to show me he was serious. Therapy, honest conversations, and no contact with Karen. It was a start, and while the trust had been broken, there was a sense that rebuilding was at least possible. That night lying in bed, I reflected on everything. The anniversary had been a disaster. My family had been exposed, and my marriage was hanging by a thread. And yet there was a strange clarity in the chaos. Some secrets, no matter how painful, are better revealed than hidden. And sometimes, the person who seems like the instigator, the one causing all the pain, might just be the one forcing you to see the truth. Leah had been a storm, yes, but storms also clear the air. And maybe, just maybe, it was time for some healing. Weeks turned into months, and the tension slowly began to ease. Family gatherings were still cautious, but the raw emotions had faded into more controlled, if awkward, interactions. Mark and I continued therapy, both individually and together, trying to rebuild what had been shattered. Trust didn't come back overnight, but little by little, moments of understanding and honesty started to replace the lingering fear and doubt. Lee stayed mostly on the sidelines. She wasn't intrusive or judgmental, just present. Occasionally, she'd send a text checking in, "Hope today isn't too rough. Remember, you don't have to do this alone." I still wasn't fully comfortable with her, but I appreciated her concern. One afternoon, my mom invited all of us over for a small get-together, no big celebrations, no formalities, just a casual family lunch. I walked in and noticed Lee already there, helping set the table. For the first time since the anniversary disaster, I felt a flicker of normalcy. During lunch, conversations flowed more naturally. Jake joked about some trivial workplace mishap, and even Dad chuckled. The air was lighter, though the memory of the secret still hovered silently. After everyone finished eating, Lee came over to me. "Hey," she said softly. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the way I did it. I didn't mean to ruin your night, even if it turned out messy." I nodded, taking a deep breath. "I know, and thank you. It hurt like hell, but I needed to know. I'm not fully over it, but I get why you did it." She smiled faintly. "Good. That's all I wanted, to be honest. The rest is up to you." Later, Mark and I went for a walk after lunch. He took my hand and said, "I can't erase what happened, but I promise to spend every day proving that you can trust me again." I squeezed his hand gently. "I hope so. I don't know where this journey ends, but we're moving forward. That's what matters." By the evening, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't expected. The anniversary may have been ruined, and the family shaken to its core, but honesty had brought us to a new starting point. There were wounds, yes, but they were healing. I realized that Lee, in her blunt, chaotic way, had forced us to confront reality, our relationships, our boundaries, and the truth we had been avoiding. Without her storm, none of us would have faced it. The next day, I called her. "Hey, lunch soon. I want to hear about your new job." She laughed softly. "Sure, I think we both deserve a normal day for once." As I hung up, I felt a strange gratitude. Lee had exposed our family's secrets, but in doing so, she'd also cleared a path toward honesty, accountability, and, hopefully, reconciliation. The storm had passed. Now it was time to rebuild. Some things couldn't be undone, but some truths painful as they could finally set us free. And that, I realized, was worth everything.